welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a beginner's guide to buying makeup. So basically it's going to be a makeup starter kit, and this is the affordable version. So this is going to be stuff that you can find in the drugstore and also really affordable things that you can find online. I am going to do a tutorial on this look using all the products that I did mention today. So make sure you guys are subscribed and you guys do hit the notification bell so that way you guys will know exactly when that video comes out. So without further ado, let's jump right in. So one of the key essentials to applying flawless makeup is making sure that you have good skincare. I am going to do a skincare video very soon. I am not going to mention any of my skincare in this video, but after you have your skincare, the next key component is primer. Primer is super essential because it helps the makeup adhere, and it also applies like a thin barrier. So if you have any flaws like lines, wrinkles, pores, whatever it is, it helps fill it in. If you have dry patches, it helps hydrate those dry patches. If you have oiliness, it helps to combat the oiliness so that way your makeup doesn't break apart. Just think of it like whenever you're painting a house or painting a room, you always apply primer because that way the colors are true and they really are more vibrant, and then it also just makes it last longer. So that's basically what primer does. And one of the primers that I like for beginners is the Wet n Wild Cover All Primer. This helps to refine pores, fill in lines, brighten complexion, and even out skin tone, and I definitely find that it does help my foundation last. Also, another key component is eyeshadow primer. I cannot stress enough, if you're not gonna wear face primer, that's fine. Not everybody likes face primer. Some people have that perfect skin where they don't need face primer, but eyeshadow primer is a must. Eyeshadow primer will help so that way your eyeshadow doesn't crease, it'll last long, it'll look vibrant all day long, and it'll also help so that way you are using less expensive products, it'll really make the eyeshadows pop. So one of the ones that I like is the NYX Eyeshadow base, and this is the skin tone one. So this one looks like this, and it kind of almost looks like a concealer. Basically all it does is it covers up any redness that you have in your eyes, evens out your skin tone on your eyes, so that way you have a perfect base for your eyeshadow. But with this, I always recommend setting it. And speaking of concealer, that's also something else that you can apply onto the eyes as well as your eyeshadow primer if you don't have a primer, or if you just don't want to get an eyeshadow primer. Or if it's something that you already have, then that way you don't have to go out to the store and buy an eyeshadow primer if you have concealer. And I will talk a little bit more on concealer when we talk about face. When it comes to primers, something that I find to be essential to flawless makeup application is primer. I'm basically going to be showing you products in the order in which I apply them. So the next thing that I always apply after my primers is my eyebrows. So with eyebrows, I recommend, if you want something more natural, that you use an eyebrow pencil. A good eyebrow pencil that I like that's from the drugstore, very affordable, is the e.l.f. eyebrow pencil, and mine is in the shade Natural Brown. So this is going to give you more of a softer brow look. I like it because it has a little spoolie on the other end, so it helps you blend out your brows. Basically, the general rule of thumb with eyebrows is whatever color your hair is. If you're blonde, you want to go 2 shades darker. If you're brunette, you want to go 2 shades lighter. Since I'm a natural brunette, I always go the 2 shades lighter than my brunette, but that always turns out to be like a few shades darker than my blonde. So it works out in my favor. So basically that's the general rule of thumb. And even with redheads and auburn, if you want to do red, then by all means do it, but you want to do it 2 shades darker. If you want to do brown and make it look more natural, then you just want to do like usually a neutral brown. It's a perfect eyebrow color for redheads. Another brow product that is good if you want more fuller brows, or if you don't really know if eyebrow pencil is for you, is the NYX 3-in-1. So this has pencil, powder, and tinted eyebrow gel. Mine is in the shade brunette. So it has the pencil on the one side, and you can use it to outline the brows. And then it has the powder, which helps to fill in the brows, and then it has the tinted brow gel, which this is just to keep the eyebrows in place and add a little bit more dimension to them. You can use this on its own, you can use each one of these 3 on their own, all 3 of them combined, or mix and match. So this is a good product to start off with if you don't really know what brow product you want to use on your eyebrows to fill them in. So this is definitely something that I recommend. The next step would be eyeshadows. So to me, I think that for starters, you don't need to go all extravagant. I actually put together a custom Colourpop eyeshadow palette. So it's 4 key eyeshadows that I think are important for an everyday easy look. You can even use some of the colors on their own. You just want a light wash, or you can use all 4 of them as I did today. So I have this matte vanilla shade called Locked and Loaded, this medium tone transition shade called Wake Up Call, this shimmery lid color called Just in Time, and then this deeper definition color called By Popular Demand. So these are 4 eyeshadows that I think are very essential. So all you need is a light brow bone, medium transition, a mid-tone shimmery lid color, and then a darker crease color. I will link down below the colors that I put together in my little custom palette. This together, including the little case, I think was like $18 or $20, something like that. So that's one way to go with it. If you want more for your money, I recommend getting the Morphe eyeshadow palettes. You get 35 eyeshadows basically for like 20 something dollars, sometimes even $20. So I have 3 different ones that I would recommend to pick up if you want to do a palette. So just depending on you. One of them, which is I think perfect for every single person, is the 35W. You have a good mix of shimmers, mattes, cool tone, warm tone. You have some blacks, some light lid shades. You have light shimmery brow bone, a light matte brow bone. You have a whole array going on here. I think this one is perfect for starters. You can do so many looks with this. If this overwhelms you, then just get the 4. If you want something that's more on the warm tone, I'd say something like 35O. That one is a perfect warm tone palette, and I know it's one of their most popular ones. And that one looks like this. So it's all warm tones, has mattes, shimmers, doesn't have any black in here at all. Your matte brow bone, your shimmer brow bones, your matte lid, your shimmer lid. And this one is great for that warm tone lover. And then if you want something that's a little bit darker but still on the warm side, this one is one of my favorites. It's the Morphe 35R, and I do have a tutorial on this as well as my review on it. This is more darker, so this I would recommend for someone who is deeper in skin color, or someone that just likes more of a smoky eye or a warm tone smoky eye. You have your shimmers on one side, mattes on another side. The only thing with this, it doesn't have a mid-tone transition, so that's why I wouldn't recommend this for someone who is lighter toned. But if you don't mind that, then I definitely recommend picking this one up. And out of all of my Morphe eyeshadow palettes, I definitely feel like this one has the best quality. So the next thing I would recommend to get, and this is optional, it's up to you whether you want to do wing liner or not, but I would recommend getting a liquid eyeliner. I personally like the pen ones because I feel like they're more beginner friendly. It helps you have more control as to where you're applying the eyeliner. This one is the NYX Epic Ink Liner. I do have a tutorial using this eyeliner. I will link that down below as well for you guys if you guys are interested in watching that video, but I didn't use it in today's tutorial because I wanted to make it more soft and natural but still glamorous. So this, like I said, is optional. You don't have to do eyeliner. Another eyeliner that I like for the waterline is the Jordana 12 Hour Made to Last. This is in the shade brown. It's perfect for beginners. If you're scared of black, you can do black as well. They do have a black one, and this stuff will not budge. So the next thing is a good mascara. I personally like the Jordana Best Lash Extreme. You can get this at Walgreens. This is a good one for everyday, really natural lashes. Nothing too crazy, adds nice definition and volume without looking too over the top. They do have a lot of lengthening mascaras and whatnot, but this one is one of my favorites for beginners, and it's great for mixing it in with your falsies. Some of the falsies that I love are the Kiss Lashes falsies, and those you can find at Walmart, and I think Target as well. Ardell also has some great ones, and some of my favorite from Ardell are the Demi Wispies. So they look like this. Kind of look like the lashes I have on today, which they're called Ritzy from Kiss. I only have one of them and I have them on right now, so I can't show you what they look like, but they basically look like the Ardell Demi Wispies, but except they're just a little bit more fluttery. And then from Kiss, down here are the Kiss No. 3 lashes, which I think are perfect for beginners because they're really light. They're not too crazy thick and dramatic, but they just add nice definition to the lashes and add a little bit of length, but they don't look too crazy. And it's perfect for that beginner that's starting off with lashes and doesn't really want something too crazy. So those are 2 styles that I always recommend. Lash glue is very important. I know people like the Duo lash glue, but I really like the brush on ones. Duo does have a brush on one, but this is the Kiss lash adhesive, and this is the clear one with aloe. I love this one. It gets tacky really quick, which means that it makes it easier to apply your lashes. Like in 15 to 20 seconds, this glue gets tacky and you can apply your lashes. So it makes applying lashes a breeze. I don't have to wait forever for my lash glue to get tacky. And then to actually apply the lashes, I always recommend a tweezer. They do have eyelash tweezers, which are a little bit more safe because they're not as sharp and they're made for this, but you can just use regular old pair of tweezers. That just helps you get really close into the lash line. The next product is also something that's optional. You don't have to do it, but it's something that I do because I am deeper in skin tone. I have to color correct. You don't necessarily need to, but color correction just basically neutralizes those areas that would typically turn gray whenever you put foundation on. So I like the Hard Candy color corrector. They do have a green one for redness, a peach one for lighter skin tones, an orange one for darker skin tones, a pink one, I think that's like for brightness, or a purple one for brightness. But they have a whole bunch of different ones, and I think at Walmart they tell you what each one does, and they have a bunch of charts on Pinterest as well. Like I said, you don't have to do it, but this is something that is essential for me. The next thing is concealer, which like I mentioned, you could use concealer as eyeshadow primer. Typically with concealer, you either want something that is exactly your skin tone if you don't want brightness, but most people like that bright under eye, so I like using a shade that's a little bit lighter. So this is the Maybelline Better Skin Concealer in the shade medium. I'm usually medium or medium tan or anything that has the word caramel in it. That's usually my shade. A good way to find out your shade is getting color matched at either Sephora, or what I recommend is getting color matched with MAC. You find out what shade concealer you are in MAC, and then you can literally find out what shade concealer you are in whatever brand. You literally will Google, like for example, Maybelline Better Skin Concealer for NC42, which that's my shade for concealer. So I would look that up and it will tell me that it's medium, and that's a good way to figure out what concealer shade you are. And you don't have to necessarily get the MAC one if you don't want to, but just knowing your MAC foundation shade is really essential because that's something that people can easily translate because it's something that's universal. So that's something to look into. Also something that's good to know when it comes to foundation and picking out your foundation. So I'm NC44 usually, so I use the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte in 108 Caramel Beige. Like I said, I'm usually anything with caramel in it or tan, that's usually me, or golden. And I've learned that just by buying a whole bunch of different drugstore foundations or just even high-end foundations. It always says caramel, golden, tan, that's usually me. And usually I'm always shade 8 or 9. So I've kind of learned that over time, so usually that's the one that I will grab. I like using the L'Oreal Pro Matte Infallible because this is long wearing and it gives me that nice matte finish, which is great for oily skin. If you're drier, you want to use something that's dewy, and they even have a full coverage one, so this one's a great one for beginners. So the next step for me would be a setting powder to set all my cream, and I like using the Coty Airspun, and this is the translucent one, and I just like using this. This just helps to set your foundation so that way it doesn't budge. I just like taking my loose powder, dusting it on with a big brush. It sets my foundation so that way when I put powders on top, it's not getting muddy or streaky or anything like that. So the next item in the beginners kit that I recommend is a good little contour kit, and this one is from Wet n Wild. I know the drugstore doesn't have a lot of shades for deeper skin tones. It's really hard to find something that doesn't make you too orange or Oompa Loompa looking, but this one is a pretty good one. This is in the shade Caramel Toffee, but you can always use a powder, like a foundation powder, or just any powder like CoverGirl or L'Oreal True Match powder in a shade or two darker than your skin tone, and that works as a good contour. So basically with contours, the general rule of thumb is you want to use something that's more with a gray undertone because it gives that natural shadow appearance. But what I like doing is, because I like my face to look a little bit more on the bronzier side, I don't like it to look ashy, and especially since I have a lot of yellow and orange in my skin tone, I like using more warm tones because I just think it complements my skin better. So I like using more of those orangey bronzers, but that aren't too crazy. And I think this one is a good one because as you see in the viewfinder, it's picking up just like it looks like in person. It has that nice warm, but it doesn't look super orange. It's that nice like cool tone, but it's still warm at the same time. Like it's neutral with a warm undertone. So that's a nice little swatch of it. And this is what I personally prefer. But for the most part, most people like more of that neutral or gray toned or cool toned contour for their cheekbones. It's up to you. I personally like more bronzy shades. So it just kind of depends on your preference. You kind of can play around with different makeup and figure out what you like. But if you can't find something in the drugstore that you like that says contour, get a foundation powder or a colored powder that's 2 shades darker than your skin tone, and there you go, you have your contour powder. So next is blush. So something that I recommend with blush, I personally like more of that like mauve pinky color or more of that like red brown color. But a general rule of thumb is whatever color your lipstick is, you want your blush to match. You don't have to do that. That's just the general rule of thumb. And a great way to experiment with different blushes without spending a lot of money is buying the e.l.f. blush kits, because they bring 4 different blushes. Mine is the darker one of the palettes, so this is more for darker skin tone. It has this nice mid-tone natural blush, this mauve blush, this pink with some glitter, and then this more rosy cool tone blush. Here are a few different blushes that you can mess around with and play with and kind of figure out what kind of blush color you like for a day-to-day basis. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about, and I know that this is something that everybody and their mom is obsessed with doing right now, is highlighters. Highlighters really add that nice natural glow to the skin, and even the oiliest of people can wear highlighter. You just have to know how to do it correctly. I personally have a more oilier T-zone area, so I don't apply highlighter anywhere past my eyes. So I make sure I stop it from here back. This is where I put my highlighter. If I apply highlighter here, it's gonna emphasize my pores and it's gonna make it look super shiny by the end of the day. I know that e.l.f. has a highlighter palette. I don't own that highlighter palette. I hear that it's really, really nice. Also, one of my favorite highlighter brands from the drugstore, and it's also one of my favorite drugstore brands in general, and that is Wet n Wild. So this is their shimmer palette and it's in the shade Boozy Brunch. I think I got this from Walgreens. It looks intimidating because it has those brown stripes and pink stripes in it when you look really close, but it's this really pretty golden color that has a little bit of a nice iridescent to it, but it just adds a nice natural glow to the skin. If you want more of that wet look, then I recommend something more like Precious Petals from Wet n Wild. When this highlighter came out, it was so hyped. Everybody and their mom wanted it. So hard to get, and then Wet n Wild made this permanent, and now like I see it all the time at Walmart. But this color is also really pretty. It's more of that golden champagne color. So as you see, it is a little bit more like shiny looking. It's more glossy looking than the Boozy Brunch. It's more of a subtle glow, while that's more of a beaming glow. So it just really depends on what you prefer. What I personally like doing is the lips next. So I always, no matter what, have a brown lip liner on hand. And I know that this sounds kind of weird because you think brown lip liner, you think of that like, or the Chongalicious girls that had the Sharpie lip liners, and or you think of like the 90s trend where you did like brown lip liner and lip gloss, but that's not what I use the brown lip liner for. One of the ones that I prefer is Coco Loco from Jordana. This is like $2. I absolutely love it. It's super creamy. So that's it right there. Whenever I put it on my lips, I always blend it out anyways. So it ends up looking something more like that. So it's not even like that Chongalicious lip color. This is just to add nice definition to my lips. And it helps me because then I can wear any nude lipstick that I want and it won't wash out my face, which is something that I find to be a problem whenever I am wearing certain lipsticks. You can basically wear any nude lipstick that you want, or any lipstick in general that you want, and this will add nice definition to your lips. And then the other one that I recommend is Jordana's Tawny. So this is like a brown lip liner with more of a pink undertone, and this is something that I recommend for anyone who is lighter than me. So that's more of that like pinky mauve color, but it still has a little bit of a brown undertone to it. So basically those are some essential lip liners. If you have a good neutral brown toned lip liner, you can pair it with any lipstick and it will look good. The last thing that I recommend for anybody who's starting off with makeup is a good nude lip. So nude lips doesn't have to just be the color of your skin. Nude lips can be brown, they can be beige, they can be pink, and the one that I have on today is called Rebel Rose from Wet n Wild, and this is more of that mauve tone pink. This is a nice nude tone pink. These Katsu liquid lipsticks are some of my favorite. I personally like more of the matte lipstick, but if you're more into a creamy lipstick, then I recommend the Maybelline matte lipsticks. They're more of a creamy consistency, but they're really comfortable. And I'm gonna grab the shade called Toasted Truffle. Me personally, I like using these darker colors because they look like good on me. Probably on someone who's lighter, it'd look more brown and not quite as nude. Those type of shades for me look better. And this is Rebel Rose underneath it, so you can see the difference in both of those colors. And then another good one that if you like more of that glossy, creamy kind of a finish are the NYX. These are called the NYX cream lipsticks. And some of the shades that I recommend is one of my favorites is the shade Talia. So that's that one right there. So it's a little bit of a lighter color, and another one is B52, so that's that one. So this is going to give you a little bit more of a sheen compared to the matte ones. This one's still kind of drying, so it doesn't look totally matte, but that one you can tell that this is shinier than that. So it just kind of really all depends, but I definitely recommend finding your perfect nude, playing around with different ones. It's really up to you what you think would look best on you as a nude lipstick. And for me, it also always depends on my eyes. If my eyes are more like brown or like more on the warmer side, then I'll use more of a brown or like warmer nude lipstick. If my eyes, like today, they ended up turning out more like on the mauve pink side somehow, even though I didn't even use pink eyeshadow, but whatever, then I ended up pairing it with a good mauve tone lipstick. So that's kind of the rule of thumb on how to figure out what nude lipstick to pair up with your eye makeup. And I didn't realize that after this clip my camera ended up turning off because it overheated, since this was such a long video. But I hope you guys did find this information in this video very informative. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me down below in the comment area, and I promise you guys that I will answer you guys as soon as I can. And if you guys have any requests for any upcoming videos, please also leave them down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Until then.